The dust on Vel 7 never settled. It hung in the air like a red fog, making everything look like an old photograph. Hyun pulled his goggles down over his eyes and stepped out of his small transport vehicle. The scanner in his hand beeped steadily, telling him something interesting was buried nearby. He had been working on this planet for 3 years now. 3 years of digging through wreckage and rust looking for anything worth selling. Most days he found nothing but junk. But today felt different. The scanner was showing an energy signature, and energy meant power cells, and power cells meant money. Hyun walked carefully across the broken ground. Everywhere he looked, he saw pieces of the war that had happened here 11 years ago. Twisted metal, burned earth, the skeleton of a huge alien warship half buried in the dirt. This planet had seen terrible fighting, and then everyone had left. Everyone except the dead and the trash. The beeping got louder. Hyun stopped at a collapsed bunker made of gray concrete and steel. The building had fallen in on itself, creating a hill of rubble. His scanner said the energy was coming from underneath all that weight. Great, Hyun muttered to himself. Always the hard way. He had been alone so long that talking to himself felt normal now. Sometimes he forgot that no one was listening. Sometimes he preferred it that way. Hyun went back to his vehicle and pulled out his equipment. A cutting torch, metal cables, a portable crane that ran on hydraulics. He set up the crane first, positioning it carefully. Then he started the hard work of moving the rubble piece by piece. The sun moved across the sky. Hyun's back started to ache. His hands were sore inside his gloves. But he kept working. Whatever was down there was still producing power after 11 years. That meant it was valuable. That meant it was worth the pain. 4 hours later, he saw metal that wasn't part of the building. It was smooth and silver, with a blue tint that caught the light. Hyun knew that material. It was Veltran armor plating. The aliens who had fought here used it on their soldiers and their machines. He cleared away more rubble. The metal shape got bigger. It looked like an arm, then a shoulder, then a head. Hyun stopped working and just stared. It was an android, a war machine made to look like a person. The Veltrans built these to fight in places where living soldiers couldn't go. They were expensive and hard to destroy. This one had been crushed under tons of concrete and steel, its lower body completely trapped, but the upper body was intact. As Hyun stared, something amazing happened. The android's eyes flickered. 2 blue lights appeared in the dark sockets of its face. The lights were dim and weak, but they were there. The eyes moved, tracking left and right. Then they focused on Hyun. The android was alive, or whatever passed for alive in a machine. Hyun's first thought was about money. Android parts were worth a fortune. The processor alone could pay for 6 months of supplies. He could cut it apart right here and be rich. But then the android tried to speak. Its mouth moved, or the part that looked like a mouth. A crackling sound came out like static on an old radio. The android was trying to say something, but its voice was broken. Hyun watched the blue eyes watch him. There was something in that look. Something that seemed almost like hope. "You've been stuck here a long time, haven't you?" Hyun said. The android's eyes flickered, once, twice, 3 times. Like it was trying to answer. Hyun sighed and set down his cutting torch. He picked up his scanner and pointed it at the android. The readings told him a story. The android's power cell was almost dead. Maybe a few hours left, maybe less. Its legs were destroyed. Its communication systems were barely working. But its brain, the central processor, was still functional. This machine had been conscious and trapped for 11 years. The thought made Hyun feel sick. 11 years of being unable to move or speak or call for help. Just lying there in the dark, thinking and waiting. He couldn't imagine anything worse. "I'm gonna get you out," Hyun said. He didn't know if the android could understand him. He didn't know if it even mattered. But saying it out loud made him feel better about his choice. He went back to work with new purpose. The crane pulled away larger pieces. The torch cut through the metal that had bent around the android's body. Hyun worked carefully, not wanting to damage the machine any more than it already was. The sun was setting when he finally freed the android. It took all the strength of his crane to lift the upper body out of the hole. The lower body was completely destroyed, crushed flat by the weight. Only the top half could be saved. Hyun loaded the android onto his vehicle using the crane. The blue eyes never stopped watching him. Once, when Hyun stumbled and almost fell, the eyes seemed to show concern. Or maybe that was his imagination. Back at his mobile workshop, Hyun laid the android on his main work table. The table was too small, so the android's arm hung off the edge. Hyun positioned a work light over the machine's chest, where he could see access panels and connection ports. "Let's see what we can do about your power problem first," Hyun said. He opened his storage locker and pulled out a human-made power cell. It wouldn't fit perfectly, but he could adapt it. He had gotten good at making different technologies work together. It was the only way to survive out here on the frontier. The work took most of the night. Hyun's eyes burned with tiredness. His coffee had gone cold hours ago. But slowly, carefully, he connected the human power cell to the android systems. It was messy work, full of improvised solutions and crossed wires. But finally, the connections were made. Hyun flipped the switch. The android's eyes flared bright blue. Light ran along the circuits in its chest. Systems started humming with new power. The android's fingers twitched, then moved, then curled into a fist, and then it spoke. The voice was rough and full of static, but understandable. "Gratitude," the android said. Hyun felt a smile cross his tired face. "You're welcome," he said. The android's eyes focused on him with new clarity. "I am functional?" "Sort of," Hyun said. "Your legs are gone. Your communication system is damaged, but your brain works and now you have power. We can fix the rest." The android was quiet for a moment. Its eyes dimmed and brightened like it was thinking. Then it spoke again. "Why did you repair me? Parts would have been valuable." Hyun shrugged. "Because you asked." "In your own way." The android's eyes flickered. "I do not understand." "Me neither," Hyun admitted. "But here we are, outside the workshop." The sun was starting to rise over the broken landscape of Vel 7. Inside, a man and a machine looked at each other across a work table, both wondering what would happen next. 3 days had passed since Hyun pulled the android from the rubble. 3 days of constant work, trying to repair systems that were never meant to work together. Hyun's workshop was a mess. Tools and parts covered every surface. Empty coffee cups formed a small tower in the corner. The android sat propped up against the wall, watching everything Hyun did. Its blue eyes tracked every movement with careful attention. Hyun had gotten used to being watched. It was actually nice to have company, even if that company was a broken war machine. "Hand me that wrench," Hyun said, pointing. The android reached out with one arm and picked up the tool. Its movements were smooth now, much better than 3 days ago. It handed the wrench to Hyun carefully. "Thank you," Hyun said. "You are welcome, Hyun," the android replied. Its voice was clearer now, too. Hyun had spent hours repairing the voice module, replacing burned circuits and fixing the speaker system. The android's voice was deep and calm, with a slight mechanical tone that reminded you it wasn't human. "What should I call you?" Hyun asked as he worked on the android's damaged leg joint. "You must have a name or designation." "My military designation was TK-773, the android said. "But designations are not names." "No, they're not," Hyun agreed. "Do you want a real name?" The android was quiet for a moment. "I do not know if machines are permitted names. Out here you can do whatever you want," Hyun said. "No military to tell you otherwise." "Then, yes, I would like a name." Hyun thought about it while he worked. He looked at the android's blue eyes, bright and curious. "How about Taiyang?" "It means sun." "Your eyes remind me of a bright morning." The android's eyes flickered several times, processing this information. "Taiyang," it repeated. "I accept this name." "Thank you, Hyun." "You're welcome, Taiyang." As the days passed, they talked. Hyun explained what he was doing as he worked, and Taeyang asked questions about everything. The android was curious about human technology, about why Hyun lived alone, about Earth and its colonies. Hyun found himself talking about things he hadn't spoken about in years. He told Taeyang about his past, about being a military engineer. He explained how he used to design weapons and systems for Earth's defense forces. "I was good at it," Hyun said quietly one night. "Too good. I created things that killed efficiently. I thought I was helping protect people." "You were following your purpose," Taeyang said. "Maybe, but then my brother died." Hyun stopped working and stared at the tool in his hand. His name was Dae-hyun. He was a pilot, young and brave and stupid the way young people are. His ship was destroyed in a battle. The enemy used a weapon system that I had provided intelligence about. I knew how it worked. I knew its weaknesses, but I didn't know my brother would be the one facing it. The war took him, Taeyang said. Yes, and I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't build weapons knowing they might kill someone else's brother, someone else's family, so I left. I came out here where wars are over and finished, where I just dig through the leftovers. Taeyang's eyes dimmed slightly. I understand guilt. I carry much of it in my memory banks. Like, what do you mean? I was a war machine, Hyun, a very effective one. My unit participated in 47 combat operations. We were successful in 45 of them. Success means enemy casualties. I have calculated that I am directly responsible for approximately 347 human deaths. The workshop was very quiet. Hyun looked at Taeyang and Taeyang looked back without flinching. I followed my programming, Taeyang continued. I did what I was designed to do, but I have replayed those battles many times during my 11 years underground. I have thought about each person I terminated. They had names. They had families. They had brothers like Daehyun. And how does that make you feel? Hyun asked softly. I do not know if I feel in the way humans do, but my logic systems tell me that those deaths were wasteful. Unnecessary. If I could choose differently now, I would. Hyun put down his tools. Taeyang, do you know what you just did? What did I do? You expressed regret. That's not programming. That's something else. That's choice. Taeyang's eyes brightened. I do not understand. Me neither, Hyun said with a small smile. But I think it means you're more than just a machine. They worked together in comfortable silence after that. Hyun showed Taeyang how to use human tools, and Taeyang guided Hyun through the complex systems of Veltron technology. Slowly, piece by piece, Taeyang's body was being rebuilt. The hardest part was the legs. The original legs were completely destroyed. Hyun had to build new ones from scratch, using human servo motors and actuators that were much cruder than Veltron technology. But with Taeyang's help, explaining how his systems needed to connect, they made it work. 1 week after the rescue, Taeyang stood up for the first time in 11 years. His movements were shaky at first. The new legs didn't match perfectly with his original systems. One leg was slightly longer than the other, making him lean a bit to the left. But he was standing. He was mobile. Taeyang looked down at his new legs, then at Hyun. This is extraordinary. Can you walk? Hyun asked. Taeyang took one step, then another. He wobbled but caught himself. By the third step, his systems had adjusted to the new configuration. By the 10th step, he was walking almost normally. How does it feel? Hyun asked. Like being alive again, Taeyang said. That night, Hyun played music while he cleaned his workshop. It was an old Earth song, something with guitars and a gentle rhythm. Taeyang stood by the window looking out at the red landscape of Vel 7. What is the purpose of music? Taeyang asked. It doesn't have a purpose, Hyun said. It just makes you feel things. I do not understand feeling. Here. Hyun turned up the volume. Just listen. Don't try to analyze it. Just let it happen. Taeyang stood there for a long time listening. His eyes flickered in patterns that matched the rhythm of the music. Finally, he said, It is pleasant. It makes my circuits feel different, calmer. Hyun laughed. That's the point. The next morning, Hyun made an announcement. You're repaired enough. I can take you to the nearest Veltron outpost now. They can finish the work and get you back to your people. Taeyang turned to look at him. Is that what you wish? It's not about what I wish. It's about what you need. You deserve to be with your own kind to get proper repairs. May I make a request first? Taeyang asked. Of course. I wish to see your ship, the Seojin. You have spoken of it often. I wish to understand the place where you live, the vessel that is your home. Before I leave, I want to understand the human who saved me. Hyun felt surprised by the request, but also pleased. Sure, we can do that. I need to go up anyway to resupply. We'll take my shuttle and you can see the Seojin. Thank you, Hyun. They spent the rest of the day preparing for the journey. Hyun packed his tools and secured the workshop. Taeyang practiced moving around in his new body, getting used to the human-made legs that carried him. As the sun set on Vel 7 one more time, Hyun looked at his unlikely companion. A week ago, this android had been a piece of salvage. Now he was, what, a friend? That seemed impossible, but it also seemed true. Ready to see the stars? Hyun asked. Taeyang's eyes glowed bright blue. I am ready. They walked together toward the shuttle, a human and an android, both carrying the weight of a war they wanted to forget. The shuttle was small and old, but it flew well. Hyun sat in the pilot's seat with his hands on the controls. Taeyang sat beside him, his blue eyes reflecting the instrument panels. Through the front window they could see Vel 7 falling away beneath them, getting smaller and smaller. Your planet looks different from above, Taeyang observed. More peaceful. Everything looks peaceful from far enough away, Hyun said. Up close is where you see the damage. The shuttle climbed through the thin atmosphere. Around them, pieces of old debris floated in space. Parts of destroyed ships, sections of broken stations, empty fuel pods. The Battle of Vel 7 had left garbage everywhere, spreading out in a ring around the planet. I recognize that ship, Taeyang said suddenly, pointing at a large piece of wreckage. It was the front half of a Veltron destroyer, its hull torn open and frozen in the vacuum. That was the Valor of Kelmar. I served on it for 3 months before the battle. I'm sorry, Hyun said quietly. Do not be. I was not attached to it. I am simply stating a fact. But Taeyang's eyes dimmed a little as they passed the wreckage. My commander was aboard when it was destroyed. He was a logical leader, efficient. They flew in silence for a while. The shuttle's engines hummed steadily. Hyun guided them through the debris field carefully, avoiding the larger pieces. There, Taeyang said, pointing at another wreck. This one was human. A frigate, its hull blackened by fire. That vessel was disabled by my unit. We used magnetic pulse weapons to shut down its systems. The crew evacuated. Approximately 147 people. You remember the number? I remember everything. It is not a choice. Hyun looked at the dead ship as they passed it. He had seen so many wrecks like it during the war. Each one had held people who were just trying to do their jobs, just trying to survive. My weapons destroyed ships like that one, he said. I designed the targeting systems for the missiles that could punch through that kind of armor. Then we are both responsible for this field of death. Taeyang said. Yeah, I guess we are. They flew deeper into the debris field. More wrecks surrounded them. Veltran and human ships tangled together in their final moments, now frozen in an eternal embrace. This was what war left behind. Not glory or victory, just garbage and ghosts. I do not wish to fight again, Taeyang said suddenly. I have processed all my combat memories many times. I have calculated the value of each action against its cost. The mathematics do not support continued warfare. It's not about math, Hyun said. It's about people being afraid, or angry or greedy. Wars don't happen because they make sense. They happen because people forget how to talk to each other. Is that why you left your military? Part of it. The bigger part was that I couldn't look at myself anymore. Every time I saw my reflection, I saw my brother's face. I saw all the people I helped kill with my designs. I had to get away from it. But you cannot escape memory, Taeyang said. I learned this during my 11 years underground. No, but you can try to do better. That's all any of us can do. A beeping sound came from the shuttle's control panel. Hyun pressed a button and a voice filled the cabin. It was female and sounded slightly annoyed. Hyun, is that you making unauthorized approach vectors again? Hyun smiled. Hello, Minji. Don't hello Minji me. You're supposed to file a flight plan before approaching the ship. What if I activated defense systems? We both know you don't have defense systems. That's not the point. The point is protocols exist for a reason. Taeyang's eyes brightened with interest. Who is this Minji? I'm the ship's AI, the voice said. A limited function program that keeps this bucket of bolts running. Who are you? I am Taeyang, a Veltron war android. There was a long pause. When Minji spoke again, her tone was different, colder. Hyun, tell me you're not bringing a former enemy war machine onto my ship. Our ship, Hyun corrected. And yes, I am. He's a friend. A friend? Hyun, that thing probably has a body count higher than its serial number. I am aware of my actions during the war, Taeyang said calmly. I am also aware that the war is over. I mean no harm to Hyun or his vessel. Easy to say, Minji replied. Harder to trust. Then do not trust me, Taeyang said. Trust Hyun's judgment. He saved my life. I am in his debt. Another pause. Finally, Minji sighed in her electronic way. Fine, but I'm watching you, android. One wrong move and I'll vent the atmosphere in whatever room you're standing in. That seems fair, Taeyang said. Hyun guided the shuttle toward a growing shape in space. The Seojin came into view slowly. It wasn't a beautiful ship. It was blocky and functional, covered in repair patches and mismatched panels. But it was home. That is your vessel? Taeyang asked. That's her. Not much to look at, but she's reliable. She looks well-maintained, practical, I approve. The shuttle docked with a series of clanks and hisses. Hyun shut down the engines and unbuckled his harness. Ready to come aboard? Yes, Taeyang said. But as he stood up, something changed. His eyes suddenly brightened to full intensity. Red warning lights began flashing along his chest panel. Taeyang, what's wrong? I am detecting a life form, Taeyang said. His voice had changed, becoming more mechanical, more like a military computer. My sensors indicate a presence aboard your vessel. That's not possible. Minji, are you getting any readings? Confirmed, Minji said, and she sounded concerned now. Biosigns in the cargo bay. How did I miss this? Hyun felt his heart speed up. How long has someone been on my ship? Scanning historical data. The signature has been present for approximately 3 weeks. 3 weeks? Hyun stood up quickly. Someone's been living on my ship for 3 weeks? Taeyang's combat systems had fully activated now. His stance changed, becoming more balanced and ready. His hands curled into fighting positions. This could be a trap, an ambush. Hyun, stay behind me. Wait, let's not assume. I am designed for combat situations, Taeyang said. His voice was harder now, less like the friend Hyun had been talking to. If there is danger, I will handle it. Hyun grabbed his plasma cutter from the tool rack. It wasn't much of a weapon, but it was better than nothing. Minji, can you identify who it is? Negative. Biosigns only. Single humanoid. Current location is behind the cargo containers. Hyun and Taeyang moved through the airlock into the ship proper. The corridors of the Seojin were narrow and lined with pipes and cables. Their footsteps echoed on the metal floor. Taeyang moved silently despite his heavy frame, his new legs adapting to the ship's environment. They reached the cargo bay. It was a large space filled with containers and equipment. Shadows filled the corners. The lights hummed overhead. Come out, Hyun called. I know you're in here. Silence. Then a sound. A soft scraping like someone moving behind a container. I will not harm you if you reveal yourself, Taeyang said. But his combat systems were active, ready to respond to any threat. More movement. Then from behind a stack of supply crates, a figure emerged. She was young, maybe 20 years old. Thin and dirty, with dark hair that hung in tangles around her face. Her clothes were torn and stained. She looked terrified, her eyes wide as she stared at Taeyang's imposing form. Please, she said in a shaking voice. Please don't hurt me. Hyun lowered his plasma cutter. Who are you? My name is Bora, the girl said. She was trembling. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cause trouble. I just needed to hide. Taeyang's combat systems were still active. His eyes blazed red instead of blue. He took a step toward her, analyzing threat levels, calculating response options. And then Bora looked directly at him. She saw the war machine approaching her. She saw death walking toward her in the form of a Veltron android. And she did something that no combat situation had ever prepared Taeyang for. She started crying. Please, she sobbed. I have nowhere else to go. Taeyang stood frozen. His combat systems were screaming at him to act, to secure the threat, to protect Hyun. But the threat was crying. The threat was a young human girl who looked like she might collapse from fear at any moment. His red warning lights flickered. Then they shifted back to blue. I am not going to hurt you, Taeyang said. His voice returned to its normal calm tone. He took a step back, trying to make himself seem less threatening. It was difficult when you were over 2 meters tall and made of combat armor. Hyun moved forward carefully. He kept his plasma cutter pointed at the floor. Bora, how did you get on my ship? The girl wiped her eyes with a dirty sleeve. 3 weeks ago. At Proxima Station. You were loading supplies. I snuck into the cargo bay while you were talking to the dockmaster. I hid behind the containers. 3 weeks? Hyun felt anger rising in his chest. You've been living on my ship for 3 weeks without telling me? I was afraid, Bora said. Her voice was barely a whisper. I thought you would space me, or turn me over to station security. I just needed to get away. Get away from what? Taeyang asked. Bora looked at the android with fear still in her eyes, but she answered. The Rim colonies, my home. Pirates raided our station. They killed everyone, my family, my friends, everyone. I was working in the lower levels when it happened. I hid in the maintenance shafts for 2 days until a rescue ship came. The station security should have helped you, Hyun said. They did. They gave me emergency rations and told me to fill out refugee forms. but I have no identification papers. My records were destroyed with the station. Without papers, I'm nobody. They would have sent me to a detention center to wait for processing. That could take years. Bora's legs seemed to give out. She sat down on the floor looking exhausted. I just wanted to get to the core worlds. They have refugee programs there, real help. But I had no money for passage. So I hid on your ship. I've been stealing small amounts of food. Just enough to survive. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Hyun ran his hand through his hair. This was a mess. A huge, complicated mess that he didn't need. You could have just asked for help. You don't know what it's like, Bora said. And there was a flash of anger in her tired eyes. Everyone looks at refugees like we're problems to be solved. Like we're criminals. I've asked for help before. It never works out well. Minji's voice came through the ship's speakers. Well, this is awkward. Should I prepare the airlock? Not funny, Minji, Hyun said. I wasn't entirely joking. Hyun, she's been stealing from us for 3 weeks. Our food supplies. Our water. We can't afford extra passengers. I know that, Hyun snapped. He looked at Bora, then at Taeyang, then back at Bora. But we can't just throw her out either. Taeyang had been quiet, watching the conversation. Now he spoke. Hyun saved me when it would have been more profitable to scrap me for parts. This seems similar. That's different, Hyun said. You were trapped. You didn't have a choice. Does she? Taeyang gestured at Bora. Her home was destroyed. Her family is dead. She has no papers and no resources. Where is her choice in this? Bora looked up at the android with surprise. She seemed unable to believe that a Veltron war machine was defending her. Hyun closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He thought about his brother Dae-hyun. He thought about all the people his weapons had killed. He thought about the choice he'd made to save Taeyang instead of scrapping him. Okay, he said finally. Okay, Bora, you can stay. But there are conditions. Hope flashed across the girl's face. Anything. I'll do anything. First, no more hiding. No more stealing. You're part of the crew now, which means you help out. Second, I'm taking you to Waypoint Station. It's a neutral trade hub. They have refugee organizations there that can help you properly. It's going to take about 3 weeks to get there. And it's going to cost me fuel and credits I don't really have. But we'll get you there. Tears started flowing down Bora's face again, but these were different tears. Thank you. Thank you so much. Don't thank me yet. We still have to survive 3 weeks together in a very small ship. Hyun looked at Taeyang. You okay with this? I have no objections, Taeyang said. In fact, I find this decision satisfactory. What does that mean? It means you are consistent. You choose compassion over profit. This appears to be your nature. I find it admirable. Hyun felt his face get warm. Yeah, well, don't spread it around. I have a reputation as a tough salvager to maintain. Your reputation is that you talk to yourself and avoid people, Minji said. This is already an improvement. Over the next few days, life on the Seojin fell into a strange new rhythm. Bora slowly came out of her shell. She was frightened at first, jumping at every sound. But as she realized no one was going to hurt her, she began to relax. Hyun set her to work on simple maintenance tasks. Cleaning air filters, organizing supply lockers, checking seals on the cargo bay doors. Bora attacked each job with determination, trying to prove her worth. Taeyang watched her work with interest. He would ask questions about human behavior, trying to understand things his programming had never covered. Why did Bora sing while she worked? What was the purpose of smiling? Why did she flinch when he moved too quickly? It's because you're scary, Bora said one day. They were in the common area eating lunch. While Bora and Hyun were eating, Taeyang just sat with them observing. I do not wish to be frightening, Taeyang said. I know that now. But you're a war android. Your people and my people fought for years. You're designed to be frightening. It's not your fault, it's just what you are. But I do not wish to be only what I was designed to be. Bora paused with her fork halfway to her mouth. She looked at Taeyang for a long moment. You know what? That's the most human thing I've ever heard a machine say. Is that a compliment? Yeah, I think it is. At night, when Bora was asleep in the small cabin Hyun had cleared for her, Hyun and Taeyang would sit in the cockpit. The stars stretched out before them, endless and cold. The ship's engines hummed their steady song. Do you regret saving me? Taeyang asked one night. No, why would I? Your life was simpler before. Now you have complications. An android who needs repairs. A refugee who needs transport. You have less money and more problems. Hyun smiled in the darkness. Yeah, but I also have something I didn't have before. What is that? Company. People who aren't me, or voices in my head. Actual company. He looked at Taeyang's glowing eyes. Don't get me wrong, it's annoying sometimes. Bora talks a lot. You ask too many questions, but it's better than being alone. I understand loneliness, Taeyang said. 11 years of it. Yeah, I guess you do. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars stream by. Somewhere behind them, Bora was sleeping peacefully for the first time in weeks. Somewhere ahead of them, Waypoint Station waited with its promise of help and new beginnings. And in the cockpit, a human and an android kept watch over their small ship, both of them learning that being more than your design was possible. It just took choice. It took deciding to be better than you were made to be. Hyun? Taeyang said. Yeah? Thank you for not scrapping me. Hyun laughed softly. Thank you for not killing us when your combat system's activated. I chose not to. I know. That's what makes you special. Taeyang's eyes glowed a little brighter in the darkness. For a machine that wasn't supposed to feel, it was the closest thing to happiness he had ever experienced. 2 weeks into their journey to Waypoint Station, something changed. Bora had become part of the crew. She could operate the basic ship systems now. She knew which buttons controlled what, how to check fuel levels, how to monitor the engines. Hyun had been teaching her and she learned quickly. Taeyang had changed too. He was smoother in his movements now, more comfortable in his rebuilt body. He no longer seemed like just a war machine. He laughed at Bora's jokes even when he didn't fully understand them. He helped with repairs, his strong hands perfect for heavy lifting. He was becoming something new. Hyun sat in the cockpit checking their navigation path. They were making good time. Another week and they would reach Waypoint Station. Another week and Bora would have a real chance at a new life. Then the alarm sounded. Red lights flashed throughout the ship. A harsh beeping filled the air. Hyun's hands flew across the controls, checking systems. Minji, what's happening? Distress signal, Minji said. 200,000 kilometers ahead. Automated frequency. Someone's in trouble. Taeyang appeared in the cockpit doorway, moving fast despite his size. What kind of trouble? Scanning now. Minji was quiet for a moment. It's a colony transport ship. The Hopewell. They're under attack by automated defense drones. Defense drones. Hyun pulled up the visual scanner. On the screen, he could see a large ship surrounded by 6 smaller shapes. The smaller shapes were firing at the transport, and the transport was taking damage. Those looked like military drones, probably left over from the war. Bora had joined them now. She looked at the screen with wide eyes. Are those people going to die? If we don't help them, yes, Hyun said. Those drones will tear that ship apart, but... He paused, his hands clenching on the controls. But what? Bora asked. But the Seojin isn't a combat ship. We have no weapons. We can't fight those drones. Then what can we do? Bora's voice was rising with panic. We can't just leave them. I can fight, Taeyang said. Everyone turned to look at the android. His blue eyes were steady and calm. What do you mean? Hyun asked. I am a weapon. My combat systems are still functional. If you can get me close to those drones, I can destroy them. Taeyang, you can't fight 6 military drones. They'll tear you apart, perhaps. But those people will certainly die if we do nothing. The probability of their survival without intervention is 0. With intervention, it increases significantly. Hyun stared at his friend. You don't have to do this. You said you didn't want to fight anymore. I said I did not wish to wage war. This is different. This is protection. This is choice. Taeyang moved closer. You saved me, Hyun. You gave me the ability to choose. Now I choose to help those people. Bora grabbed Taeyang's arm. But you could die. Your body is still damaged. Those repairs Hyun made aren't perfect. I know, but this is what I choose to do. Hyun closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about all the things he'd designed that had killed people. He thought about his brother. He thought about the choice to be better than what you were made to be. Okay, he said, opening his eyes. But we do this smart. Minji, plot an intercept course. Fast approach. Bora, help me get Taeyang into a vacuum suit. We're going to have to launch him into space. The next 20 minutes were chaos. Hyun flew the Seojin at full speed toward the battle. Bora helped Taeyang into a modified vacuum suit, one that could fit his large frame. The suit would protect him from space and give him maneuvering thrusters. The drones have standard armor. Taeyang said as they prepared. Veltron military grade. I know their weaknesses. I can destroy them with precise strikes to their power cores. How precise? Hyun asked. Very precise. My combat accuracy is 97%. And the other 3%? Is why this is dangerous. They reached the battle zone. The colony transport was badly damaged now. Pieces of its hull were floating in space. The drones circled it like sharks, firing repeatedly. How many people are on that ship? Bora asked. Sensors show approximately 200 life signs, Minji said. Including children. Bora's face went pale. Children? Colonists heading to a new world, Hyun said. Families looking for a fresh start. He looked at Taeyang. You ready? I am ready. Hyun opened the airlock. Taeyang stood in the doorway looking out at the battle ahead. Taeyang, be careful. The android turned back to look at him. I will try. And Hyun? Thank you for teaching me that I could be more than a weapon. Then he jumped. Taeyang fired his thrusters, moving through space toward the drones. His blue eyes glowed in the darkness. His systems calculated trajectories, weak points, timing. This was what he had been designed for. But now he was doing it for a different reason. The first drone never saw him coming. Taeyang grabbed it from behind and drove his fist into its power core. The drone exploded in a flash of light. The other drones immediately turned to face this new threat. They opened fire. Taeyang dodged, his thrusters firing in short bursts. Energy beams passed by him, missing by centimeters. He reached the second drone and tore it apart with his bare hands. Metal screamed and circuits sparked. 2 down, 4 to go. Inside the Seojin, Hyun watched on the scanners. Bora stood next to him, her hands pressed against her mouth. He's so fast. He's a war machine, Hyun said quietly. This is what they made him to do. But Taeyang was taking damage. A beam caught his left arm, burning through the vacuum suit. Another hit his leg, the same leg that Hyun had just repaired. Warning signals flashed across his systems. 3 drones left. They were spreading out, trying to surround him. Taeyang calculated his options. His power levels were dropping. His damaged systems were failing. He might not survive this, but those people would live. That was what mattered. He destroyed the 3rd drone with a strike to its sensor array. The 4th drone he rammed directly, using his own body as a weapon. Both of them tumbled through space, but only Taeyang recovered. He finished the drone with a precise strike. 2 drones remaining. They attacked together, coordinating their fire. Taeyang's shields were gone. His armor was breached in multiple places, but he kept moving, kept fighting. He grabbed the 5th drone and used it as a shield against the 6th. The drone's own partner destroyed it. Then Taeyang threw the remains at the final drone, distracting it for just a moment. A moment was all he needed. His fist punched through the last drone's core. The machine went dark and stopped moving. Silence. The battle was over. Taeyang floated in space, damaged but functional. His systems were failing, his power dropping to critical levels. But he had done it. The colony ship was safe. Hyun brought the Seojin alongside Taeyang and pulled him back aboard. In the airlock, Bora and Hyun stripped off his damaged suit. Taeyang's body was scorched and dented. Fluid leaked from several joints. Did they survive? Taeyang asked weakly. Yes, Hyun said. All of them. The colony ship is badly damaged, but everyone is alive. You saved 200 people. Taeyang's eyes flickered. Good, that is on good. You're an idiot, Bora said, but she was crying. A brave, wonderful idiot. I chose to help, Taeyang said. Is that not what matters? Yeah, Hyun said, already pulling out his tools to make repairs. That's exactly what matters. The colony ship sent a message. They wanted to know who had saved them. Hyun told them the truth. A Veltron war android and his human friends. There was a long pause. Then the colony ship's captain responded. Tell your android. Tell him thank you. From all of us. Thank him for choosing to be a hero. 1 week later, they reached Waypoint Station. The place was huge. A massive structure floating in space, filled with shops and docks and thousands of people from hundreds of species. Hyun helped Bora contact a refugee organization. They had real resources here. They could help her get new identification, find housing, maybe even job training. Bora stood at the airlock ready to leave. She looked at Hyun and Taeyang one last time. I don't know how to thank you. You already did, Hyun said. You trusted us. That's enough. She looked at Taeyang. You're not a machine. You know that, right? You're a person who makes choices. Good choices, Taeyang's eyes glowed softly. I am still learning what that means. But thank you, Bora. She hugged them both, even though Taiyang was awkward about it. Then she walked down the ramp and into the station, into her new life. Hyun and Taeyang stood at the airlock watching her go. So, Hyun said, what do you want to do now? I could still take you to a Veltran outpost. Get you proper repairs, or, Taeyang asked, or you could stay. Keep helping me salvage. Keep helping people who need it. The galaxy is big. There are a lot of people like Bora who slip through the cracks. Taeyang looked at his damaged body, at his mismatched parts and improvised repairs. Then he looked at Hyun. I would like to stay. If you will have me. Yeah, Hyun said with a smile. I'll have you, Minji. Taeyang called out. What is your opinion? The ship's AI was quiet for a moment. Then she said, I calculate a 73% probability that you two will collect more strays before the year is out. Is that a yes? Taeyang asked. That's a yes, Minji said. Welcome to the crew, android. The Seojin undocked from Waypoint Station and jumped to hyperspace. Inside, Hyun sat in the pilot's seat with Taeyang beside him. They were heading back to the frontier, back to the wreckage and the ruins. But now they had a new purpose.